I replace you. Not because I stopped caring, and not because what we had suddenly became meaningless, but because I finally understood that loving someone does not mean allowing them to destroy my peace repeatedly. I spent too long believing that my loyalty had to be endless simply because my feelings were deep. I kept forgiving things that should have ended us, kept returning to the same person after every betrayal, and kept convincing myself that love was supposed to survive everything. But even a prince has a limit. Mine was reached the moment I realized I was losing pieces of myself just to keep someone who had already decided I wasn't enough. For a long time, I thought I could change the ending. I thought if I loved you harder, protected you better, gave you more of my time, and showed you every hidden part of myself, you would eventually understand the depth of what I felt. I gave you access to a side of me that nobody else had ever seen. Behind the crown, behind the cold expression, behind the authority everyone feared, there was a man who simply wanted to be loved without having to question whether he was wanted. I allowed myself to become vulnerable with you. And that was something I had never done before. Perhaps that was my mistake. I gave you the one thing I had spent my entire life protecting, my trust. When you broke that trust, something inside me changed permanently. I didn't become heartless overnight. I became tired. There is a difference. Anger burns quickly, but disappointment settles quietly and stays. I started noticing how often I was the one trying to repair everything. I was the one making excuses, the one forgiving, the one pretending that the next time would be different. Eventually, I looked at myself and realized I had become a stranger to the man I used to be. The prince who once walked through the palace with certainty was now constantly questioning whether the person beside him was loyal. I refused to live like that anymore. So when I say I replace you, I don't mean I found another person and erased you from my memory. I mean I replaced the version of myself that tolerated being treated as though I was disposable. I replaced desperation with dignity. I replaced endless forgiveness with boundaries. I replaced the need to be chosen by someone else with the decision to choose myself. And perhaps that is the part you never expected. You thought losing you would destroy me. Instead, losing the illusion of you gave me my strength back. I still remember everything. I remember your smile, your habits, the places where you used to stand beside me, the moments when the entire palace disappeared because I was focused only on you. Memory doesn't disappear simply because a relationship ends. Sometimes it becomes quieter. Sometimes it becomes a reminder of what you once believed was forever. I won't pretend those memories mean nothing. They mattered. You mattered. But something can matter deeply and still no longer belong in your future. The darkest part of me used to believe that if I couldn't have you, nobody should. That was the possessive prince inside me. The man who confused love with ownership, who thought protecting someone meant keeping them within reach. I don't want to be that man anymore. I don't want to control your life, your choices, or the people you meet. You are free to become whoever you want to become. But so am I. And my freedom begins where my obsession with keeping you ends. I know there will be moments when I remember how deeply I wanted you. There will be nights when the palace is silent and my mind wanders back to the past. I may still wonder where you are, whether you think about me, whether you regret what happened between us. But I won't let curiosity become an excuse to return. I won't knock on a door that I already know will lead me back to the same pain. Some doors are meant to remain closed, even when part of you still wants to open them. There is something almost cruel about how calm I have become. The people around me expected anger. They expected me to lose control, to demand explanations, to make a spectacle of what happened. Instead, I became quieter. I stopped asking questions. I stopped checking whether you were watching me. I stopped searching for signs that you missed me. I stopped trying to make you understand what you had lost. And the moment I stopped seeking your reaction, I realized how much power I had unknowingly given you. Now I walk through the palace differently. My shoulders are no longer heavy with questions. I don't carry the weight of wondering whether someone will betray me tomorrow. I don't need constant reassurance. I don't need to know where you are every second. I don't need to compete with anyone for your attention. I have learned that peace feels better than possession. It is quieter, but it is stronger. And if you ever see me standing beside someone else, don't assume I found them to make you jealous. I don't need to use another person as a weapon against you. I won't make someone else responsible for healing wounds they didn't create. If someone enters my life again, it will be because I genuinely want them there, not because I want you to notice their presence. I have no interest in proving that I can replace you. My life will prove it without me saying a word. You may have once believed that you were irreplaceable because of how deeply I loved you. Maybe you were. Maybe nobody will ever be exactly you. But being unique doesn't mean being permanent. Some people leave a mark on your heart without remaining in your life. Some people become chapters that you remember forever, but never read again. I can acknowledge that you were important without allowing your past presence to control my future. I won't hate you. Hatred would require me to keep giving you emotional space, and I've already given you enough of mine. I don't need revenge. I don't need to see you regret your choices. I don't need to watch you suffer so I can feel healed. Your consequences belong to you. Mine belong to me. My consequence is learning to recognize the difference between loving someone and losing myself for them. Perhaps the most powerful thing I can do now is walk away without becoming cruel. I can leave without destroying everything behind me. I can remember you without wanting you back. I can wish you well without wishing you beside me. I can accept that our story mattered and still decide that it is finished. That is not weakness. That is the kind of strength I never understood when I was obsessed with keeping you. I used to think a prince's greatest power was his crown. I was wrong. The greatest power is the ability to walk away from something that no longer deserves access to your heart. A crown can command a kingdom, but it cannot command love. I learned that the hardest way possible. I cannot force you to value me, and I cannot force myself to remain where I am not valued. So, yes, I replace you. I replace the memories that kept me trapped with memories that remind me I survived. I replace the nights I spent waiting with nights I spend in peace. I replace suspicion with trust in myself. I replace your absence with my own presence. I replace the version of me that begged silently to be loved with the man who knows he should never have to beg for something genuine. And if one day you return and find that I am different, don't mistake that change for cruelty. You taught me something I should have learned long before I met you. People can leave, promises can break, and feelings can change, but self-respect has to remain. I don't know whether you'll ever understand what you meant to me. Maybe you will. Maybe you won't. It no longer controls me. Because the prince you once knew is gone. Not destroyed. Not defeated. Rebuilt. And this time, I choose who gets close to my heart. I don't expect you to understand the man I've become. Perhaps you preferred the version of me who waited, forgave, and returned every time you pushed me away.